Thank you so much. To avoid the long list of greetings, I'm going to keep it simple, all protocols observed. I am a privileged individual. There is nothing special about me, who I am, what I do, or what I've experienced. I've grown up with comfort, clean water, a sense of peace and security, and both the access and the resources to obtain a quality education. I am privileged. And yet still, for a large majority of my life, I stumbled around with a sense of unease, a feeling of discontent. You see, my parents, like an increasing number of people in the world, were refugees. They left Eritrea in a time of war, took a winding path that eventually led to me being raised here in the United States. And yet still, I knew every day of my life that there was something wrong with this story. Surely this couldn't be the last page. Was this the happy ending? Was I the happy ending? And the answer is no. No, I am not. No, this is not enough. And this is not sustainable development. And it is certainly far from resilience. Sustainable development is not having to leave your home, your family, your culture behind to provide your children with an adequate life. Sustainable development is not millions of Syrians fleeing war, only to often be met with disdain and rejection. It's not having to conceal your language and your culture in an attempt to conform, only to never truly be accepted. It is not this increasingly fragmented and polarized world. Sustainable development is having the resources, the access, the security, and the tools to create new opportunities wherever you choose to call home. You see, resilience is absent in a world that perpetuates ever-increasing inequalities and ecological footprints. Our systems cannot keep alienating people and transgressing planetary boundaries. We cannot continue to undermine communities and consume more than the earth can sustainably provide. And that is why I am so incredibly grateful that we are all here today. Government representatives, policymakers, youth activists, because we are committed to sustainable and resilient communities, everywhere and for everyone. I'd like to take the next few moments to say and share a little bit about what I know about young people and what it takes to achieve transformational change. Transformative change and awakening does not often happen in the classroom or in the office. We know this. It happens in the afternoon debates, the late-night conversations that spark ideas, and the unadulterated drive of a tribe of young people behind a cause. I'd like to draw upon my experiences with the International Forestry Students Association, IFSA. IFSA is a globally organized and locally operating students association that empowers, connects, and educates forest science students. And as you can see, we also engage in formal UN processes. The work that we do fills a much-needed gap. We provide skills and knowledge currently lacking in formal education and pathways for collective action towards our vision of a world that appreciates forests. To that end, we raise awareness of the Sustainable Development Goals to young people, many of whom do not know them, and the varied ways that forests contribute to the 2030 Agenda, beyond number 15, Life on Land. Let me share with you a few of them. Forests are the quintessential global commons and the backbones of resilient ecosystems. Forest products tackle poverty by providing income to surrounding communities. They provide carbon capture and storage to combat climate change. They play a significant role in safeguarding the human right to water, while also being home to most of the world's biodiversity. They host stores of indigenous knowledge, and their sustainable management provide pathways for gender equality, zero hunger, good health, sustainable production and consumption, and many more things than I have time to talk about today. To frame it more technically, They are indispensable for the achievement of the SDGs, the realization of the Sendai Framework, and the implementation of the new urban and territorial agenda. But I'd like us to stop here. What can we learn from this? Our world, it's not as simple as we'd like to think. It's filled with complex, interdependent systems. The good news is that we realize this, and we're all working towards a common goal. The problem? We're often doing it independently. There's a need for holistic approaches produced by communities and stakeholders at all levels and across all sectors. And it can only happen when we're all present, all talking, in the same room. I have the great pleasure of working with the Global Landscapes Forum, the world's largest science-led platform for sustainable land use, which seeks to do just that. We're breaking down barriers, connecting ideas, and accelerating progress through a movement that puts communities first in addressing landscape-level issues. As a youth coordinator to the forum, my experience has shown me that we don't have enough time to leave a vast majority of our population feeling unsupported and unengaged. I've seen how the Youth in Landscapes initiative has transformed eager students to young, powerful leaders who have returned to their communities to tackle rural migration, promote climate-smart agriculture, increase market access for producers, or become policy advocates. There's an incredible amount of untapped potential in the young people of the world. Those of us in the room only represent a fraction. Our constituencies only represent a fraction. But we're not here to change a fraction of the world. So how do we reach them? How do we continue to ignite small fires in each member of our society? There are a few strategies to spread our work. And I find they start with support, listen, and engage. The first, support. There's a great quote that states, "Most dreams die a slow death." They're conceived in a moment of passion with the prospect of endless possibility, but often languish and are not pursued with the same heartfelt intensity as when first born. Self-organized youth groups transform moments of passion into places of action. They actively fight against cynicism and provide the tools and resources for new ideas to thrive. We cannot underestimate the power of community. We need to actively support the formation of youth-led entities and youth-led and driven areas of work to begin to claim inclusive development. It is not enough to handpick one individual, one spokesperson, and one leader for a seat at the table. It's about awakening and transforming all young people through community and supporting the mechanisms of adequate representation and facilitation through legally mandated and designated spaces. And some actively support youth-led organizations. They not only light fires, but they keep them alive. The second, listen. Once the communities are built and the mechanisms for representation are in place, listen. Use marginalized groups and young people as indicators to whether we are achieving sustainable and resilient communities. Because when our communities are flourishing, young people, young women and girls will be thriving. The third and the most often heard is engage and include young people in decision-making processes and implementation. Let's be clear. You are not handing them a privilege, but conceding to their right. And make no mistake, young people will carry on the work whether they are included or not. And to many, this right is a responsibility bound to their hearts. We're already here and out in the world, dreaming, building, advocating, creating. We're not going to stand and wait for a seat at the table. But I have to be honest. This isn't ideal. We don't want to and cannot do it alone. We don't want to fight for every partnership, every approval, every seat, every dollar. We don't want to forever be sidelined in another room, our solutions labeled youth, and our problems, our solutions, touted as surprising accomplishments. I don't want to forever be here, repeating the same things, sounding like a broken, uninspired record. Engage. Member states, we are waiting on you. If these groups that are already out there changing the world are not meaningfully engaged, you're missing out on a chance to accelerate change. I've found these strategies useful, but they will only be successful if we hold and believe in the one principal truth, that society benefits from an ever-expanding room of empowered stakeholders, an ever-expanding conversation of people fighting for change. It's time to break down the divisions across sector, across age, to engage in the difficult conversations that will change our world. We've made the mistake of sectioning off our planet, ever dividing it by nation, fragmented by urban and rural areas, segmented into forest or agricultural areas. We have fractured ecosystems and inadvertently denied our communities the right to live in a natural harmony. But don't be fooled. Natural harmony, it's messier than we'd like to believe. Natural harmony involves fiery debates that run through and transform everything in their path. It may mean barren rock and rubble before witnessing a rebirth of early approaches alongside a blossoming of the new. Natural harmony is a stirring, buzzing, incessant noise of different perspectives that all exist to reveal to us that life is flourishing. It may be noisy, messy, and complex in an ever-expanding room of stakeholders, but I assure you, it is exactly where we need to be. I've said this before, we don't have time. So let's not waste our time here. Greet each other, meet each other, and use every ounce of your energy to make the most of this opportunity, but not for yourselves, for those who cannot be here, our brothers and sisters who do not have this privilege. Together, let's make privilege a forgotten word. Thank you.